All right. Happy Thanksgiving 2020. So I'm just gonna go over a couple basics with small engines here. And you can buy certain tools, fairly inexpensive. One tool that I use pretty regularly is a compression gauge to check the compression. Bought this off of Amazon. It is a petrol engine cylinder compression tester gauge kit. It says that it will read 0 to 300 psi. I doubt that it'll go all the way to 300 or that it's very accurate, but it's accurate enough. In my opinion, I've used it to test the compression in car engines, boat engines, which are basically the same thing. Lots of small engines, and basically, if you find yourself in a situation where you have a non-running unit, some quick troubleshooting tips. Usually I start out with the can of starter fluid. Something like this, you just give it a quick squirt and after you take the air filter off, give it a quick squirt in there. If you don't get a chooch out of it, it's time to check something else out. So usually my next step to check something else out is to pull the spark plug. Look at the spark plug, and the spark plug's wet, so it smells like gas is getting in. It's either oil or gas, but it does have kind of a little bit of an oily smell. So those are kind of all things that you want to take into account. Could be something going on with a head gasket or a valve that's not functioning properly. And your 4-cylinder or your 4-stroke units, you have valves, lifters, and springs that help keep the oil in the crankcase and help keep the engine lubricated and allow gas in and gas out. Let's see if we can get this to stay somewhere. Nope. You hook the compression tester up, you give it about 3 rips. And compression's at 45, we'll say, which isn't very high, but it's enough compression, in my opinion, that you should be able to get at least a pop out of the unit. So the next step is look for spark, test for spark. So one way you can do that without having to go ahead and get a spark plug tester, and I can definitely see there's oil coming out of the spark plug hole. So, and to me, that's an indication that you got probably got a bad valve, bad head gasket, something's bad without opening it up. See if we can get this to stay in here. I'm gonna use the camera to go ahead and look back and see if I got spark. They do sell spark plug tester tools. You can use to go ahead and actually, I probably want it to be closer to a bolt. And we'll see if we can zoom the camera in and focus right on that. It'd be on the bolt for the ground. and we'll see if we got spark. And if we don't have spark, we have an ignition issue. If we have spark, then we have a compression issue. We're going to go with the no spark diagnosis at this point. So the bad thing with these is you got to remove the screws in the back of the gas can. The good thing is everything's usually 10 millimeter. Alright, so I determined that this is a bad ignition coil. So, in order to remove this, don't lose the screws, especially not in the grass. There's two Phillips heads in the top. You will unfortunately need to remove the gas can. The gas can is a 8 millimeter. And don't lose these screws either. If you have a full, there's also a bolt, 10 millimeter on the side, back here underneath the gas can. If you get a full gas tank, you can grab yourself a Folgers can. If you have an empty Folgers can or applesauce jar laying around, you can dump it in there, or if you have a set of hose clamps, just clamp it down there. There are two screws back here in the back, and they're both 10 millimeter. Good gravy. This is so muddy back here. I really need to do something about that. So there was one there, and there's one here. There's two in the front. You can't miss the two in the front. They're probably the easiest to see. Now, when you lift this up, if you have too much oil in here, the oil is going to flow out right here because this dipstick's going to come with it. Oh, look, she's got some critters that were living in here. Try not to get any dirt down in the. Try not to get. I wouldn't even mess with it. You don't want to get the dirt down inside the oil. I'm just going to leave that alone, but we're going to remove this ignition coil. I'm going to replace it with another ignition coil. Oh, shit. Can't believe it, it's like 60-some degrees out here. So, yeah, when you start collecting mowers, you build a little bit of a collection of parts. One of those is, in my case, ignition coils, because sometimes I get units that come through and they're done. I mean, somebody's ran them without oil for years. That's always the best. Or other various reasons, things are broken that just can't be replaced. So I collect these parts. Now that I got mud all over the side of my impact wrench, that was nice. 1/4, quarter, 6 1/2, half and a dozen. Now, this is just a push down and let the wire out for the ground. That grounds out the system. And honestly, nope, I didn't want to do that. I managed to go ahead and drop one of those bolts right there. Because this is so crusty, maybe it was just a bad contact on the ground. Looks like it kind of had. Whatever. It's not going to focus on it, but. Usually these say top, front, stuff like that. You know, keep it away from the flywheel. This is a flywheel if you don't already know. We're going to put that in there. The proper way to measure this, here comes a nice loud dumper. Proper way to measure this would be with a some feeler gauges. What I do is I just snug it up enough that I can manipulate it. And then the easiest way to do it, if you have a business card laying around, usually everybody has a business card of some sort laying around. Your next best option is, if you have, you know, a whole bunch of these rewards cards laying around, just slip it in there. Make sure it's tight. What I do is I spin it then. Just watch out because you will spit oil out if you're going too fast. You just want to make sure that it spins freely. You'll have the brake on. I mean, you can take some of this pressure off of the brake if you disconnect the spring, but I'm just making sure that caught it. And you want to do it on the side that doesn't have the magnet. It's a lot easier to adjust. But once you have it adjusted and you know it's moving freely, give it a couple whacks. You don't need to go crazy. It's aluminum. You'll break that right off of there very, very easily. So then what we'll do is I'll put my spark plug back in if I can find it, which is not in my pocket. And of course I didn't set it down over here. I set it down over here. Dipstick back up. Gotta keep that all under there. Yeah, this boat being here is blocking the sun from the grass here, and now the grass is turning into a nice mush. 10mm on these. You don't need to get too crazy, and you can usually tell which ones are which because the ones underneath the cover are typically dirty. Highly recommend you always start your threads before you start jacking on it. Yeah, got the dropsies. Have a good project without the dropsies. And one of these guys did fall out of that, didn't they? Yeah. We can hang on to that one till last. One for the gas, bottom of the gas cans. Important, but not important enough to get worked up about it before getting the rest of this crud in. And come back to my 8mm. Yeah, there's the dropsies again. I might need to get the magnet. Yeah, maybe. No. Got lucky. Every once in a while. Blind squirrel finds a nut. Same thing, plastic. Yeah, and these were supposed to be impact proof here, and they weren't very impact. I don't want to get too gorilla style on these either, because you will bust them right out. Honestly, I'm not going to tighten that up just in case it was a bad coil that I had in there. Make sure your tools are clear and all other objects are clear of underneath the unit. From start to end. Enjoy your Thanksgiving mud. Yeah, man. End up playing some grass seed out of here and get this boat out of here. If anybody wants a boat, got a boat, turnkey, runs well. Well, ignition coil on that was bad, and I imagine that the gas is probably a little crappy in that too, but so we'll have to tear the carburetor apart and clean that out too. I just got one more shoot with that and see if it nutshell, that's what it was. Well, start to end, troubleshoot. Thank God it wasn't any deeper. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving.